Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Yakuza 5 perspective. And, holy Jesus, oh my god, take the problems that you had with 4, sprinkle in a little dash of 3's insanity, and it's just culminates with this monstrosity of a game. It's like they took the worst design decisions of like an Ubisoft game and smashed them together with the ideas of Resident Evil 6. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Resident Evil 6, it's essentially like a game that is cobbled together with 4 other games. Like you got Leon Kennedy's campaign, you got Sherry and Jack's campaign, Jake? Wesker's son. You got Leon, Chris, Sherry, Ada. There's like 4 different kind of games in that one game. And, spoiler, it's the same kind of here. And the thing is, you go to 5 different kind of cities, and it's really kind of weird because even though it doesn't really feel that alive to me, and it's just more like a virtual walk around of what kind of goes on, Kamurocho is the one that usually has the most fleshed out things going on. The other ones just felt like corned off little areas, and just trying to get around was a fucking insanity inducing fuckfest where you got cars on the street that you could like actually get fucking hit with. The pedestrians clog up the paths, and like you almost get hit a lot of the times with all these random kind of battles. You need to do that to get kind of experience to make sure you can upgrade stuff, but that's also what the sub-stories are for. And there's sub-stories, and then there's actual, essentially, I know it's funny to be like, I need to, like, differentiate this here. There are mini games where it's like, oh, it's a kind of little game put into it, but this is a miniature game. You've got for some reason, it's divided to Kiryu, Seijima, Haruka, and Akiyama put together to do fuck all, and the new character Shinada. Kiryu, for some reason, is given a taxi kind of sub-story to kind of fuck around with. It's like, alright. Seijima has to go hunter man and fight a fucking bear. Now, granted, that sounds awesome, but the amount of shit you gotta go through to do that is just like, oh god. Haruka is doing pop idol shit while Akiyama is trying to like solve the president's kind of murder of her company. So yay, another rhythm fucking game thing that I don't really give a fucking shit about. And Shinada's is just amped baseball. It's like, alright, cool. Let's just it's like actual little games put in here and cobbled together, and it's like I don't want this. I don't even want the brawler aspects that they're doing because they don't really do anything better with them. It's just, oh, okay, you have to deal with the same kind of shitty design, sometimes tweaked, sometimes not. Now, granted, this isn't Yakuza, where you have to block constantly, or the enemies are blocking constantly, and you're like, oh, Jesus. But it's the same kind of stupid design decisions where boss designs are just, like, fucking nasty. It's like, oh, God. And the thing is, that then exorbitantly expands out how long it takes to get through the game. It's like, I stopped doing certain sub-stories at the end because I just wanted it to be over, and then it told me I spent like 60 hours with this thing, and I'm like, it really went through and showcased for me. It's like, because a lot of things that people explain about, it's like, oh yeah, I got my money's worth with a game. I played for 60 hours, but I only spent like $5 on it or whatnot. It's like, yeah, but did you enjoy that? Here, I did not. Especially because of the fucked up, weird-ass routes they went on a lot of different kind of things. It's like, holy shit, who thought any of this was going to work, and why? Like, these are barely interconnected until the end where they fucking plot dump you again because it's a fucking trope and a cliche at this point with this series where it's like, oh, we gotta actually tie this shit together? Yeah, motherfucker. It's too much game. Like, I can understand when people are like, oh, okay, for like The Witcher 3, which is like one of my favorite fucking games, that's too much game for me. Totally get that. Totally get that, man. And there's certain people that's like, oh, that's not enough for me. And I get that as well. I'm like, I got a lot of good stuff out of that. Here, it's all in the execution, man. And all of the shit that goes on is just almost nonsensical, where even the game feels like it's trying to guess who the final big bad person is until you get to the end, and it's just like, I don't fucking care at this point, just fucking end it. And of course we had to get another fucking Kiryu death fake out, and Haruka is treated so stupidly here that it fucking boggles my mind. We have been following this little girl from the first game, and now she's a teenager in high school. We could have had a lot of interesting kind of shit dealt with that, and seeing how she deals with high school, how she is taking the teachings of Kiryu and applying them, and they just be like, nah, pop idol is bitch. And it's like, what? And even that could have been done in an interesting kind of way, because she's the only one that doesn't have any fighting in it. So, granted, you have to deal with shitty rhythm games and pretty much the same couple songs over and fucking over again, but at least you're not getting stopped constantly on the street to be like, hey, I'm a thug, or a gang member, or a street punk, or this Victory Road Coliseum fucking bullshit that I'm just like, I don't fucking want to do with this, and God. Like, it would have been interesting to see her be able to, like, defend herself, understand how she views violence and self-defense versus Kiryu as how he started out in the Yakuza world, and then teaching her how to not just employ violence willy-nilly, and to become someone that helps people and protects people. Because that is one of the core kind of dissidences that happens within this series. From the beginning all the way to where we are now, and into, like, I understand trying to showcase, like, oh yeah, look, it's like wrestling where you, like, beat the complete and utter fucking shit out of people, but it's like, Kiryu is trying to showcase that the Yakuza are fucking stupid, even though the game also is, like, kind of showing them, like, because they make it such an integral plot point, and because the Tojo clan's gotta fail every fucking quarter, like, granted, I'm like being hyperbolic on that kind of situation, but however, it's like almost 2 to 3 years like clockwork. This fucking organization needs fucking help from fucking Kiryu. He even is tired of it in this game, and I'm like, I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you. Just fucking let it go, because these people don't know how the fuck to do whatever the fuck they're trying to do. Like, oh god. So, Kiryu is a taxi man, because evidently he got talked into letting Haruka be an idol by Majima's ex-wife. Granted, I'm taking like, spoilers and plot points and, like, mashing them together, because if I got to it with how long it took to fucking, like, seed everything, because the game thinks it's a lot smarter than it actually is, and that these reveals actually mean something more, when you're just like, I just want this to be fucking over with. And this was evidently done to supply the orphanage with, like, money and shit. Which, to be fair, we then learned that she got money from Akiyama, like 300 million yen, and was using it for a debut concert for Haruka, because her dream was, as an idol, to do a concert at the Japan Dome. However, she was secretly married to Majima, and she is Korean, because why the fuck not? Like, I don't mind that she's Korean or anything like that, and I'm interested in the inner dynamics of, like, all the different kind of people that live in Japan, the Korean, Chinese, all that kind of stuff in the Japanese as well, and how it kind of works out. However, when it's used so much as a plot twist and, like, a fucking trope, granted, it's not to the degree that fucking Kiwame 2 did it, where it's like, oh, here's a fuck ton! It's like, why? And it's the execution and how it's presented. It's like, okay, she's plot dumping her whole life story of why she's essentially being an asshole to Haruka and kind of the rest of the people. And we're supposed to feel bad for her, but I'm just like, you being a dick and taking your trauma and shit out on other people. Because that was something she was keeping hidden. She got pregnant and had an abortion, and then Majima hit her, and then they got divorced, but yet they still kept close enough because they were going to meet after Haruka's debut, because he's doing shit with the Tojo clan of trying to like help out, because on the overarching kind of fuckery fuckery day, the Tojo clan is worried because the 7th Oni chairman, Kurosawa, is going to be dying soon, and they're pretty much drumming up kind of support with other kind of Yakuza families in all the different kind of fucking cities. And Majima was sent to one of them, and then was said that was killed, but like we don't even know how he got out of that because he's still alive through other kind of games as well, and he's alive in this one and all that kind of shit. It becomes the kind of like inciting kind of thing for Seijima because he's in prison again because it worked out so well in the 4th fucking game. Woo! Oh god, and then we just like he's in prison, and then he goes to fight bears and like hunts shit, and then gets into a city where he has to deal with cops. However, it's not as annoying as in the 4th one. I will give it that, because he's just like, I want to stay away from this cop. It's like, all right, cool. At least I don't have to fucking run away from the cop again and having to kind of deal with going under and above fucking Kamurocho. And then he gets pretty much linked up with these guys in prison. The fucking one warden, deputy warden, helped him and this dude Baba break out. But Baba is linked up with the Omi alliances kind of thing, because we learned that there's a vast conspiracy. You see, because this dude who we thought is a cop is actually the 7th Oni chairman, and he's got terminal cancer, and he's pretty much trying to like unite the Yakuza world underneath and give it to his son Aizawa, which is only shown at the end, and he's got similar kind of clothing style to Kiryu, and then he fights Kiryu at the end. Now you're like, you're kind of skipping around a lot because it's easier to kind of put it out this way. Kiryu decides to pretty much leave everything, so he's not connected because of his Yakuza connections, and I kind of get that. However, there's other healthier kind of ways to deal with this. So he taxi mans around this fucking place, and of course Daigo's trying to help solidify the family there. He asks and like plot dumps some shit to Kiryu, and Kiryu's like, listen, I can't help you out all this shit, alright? You need to stand on your own. Now granted, helping and offering advice, I get that, but Kiryu's like, how many fucking goddamn times do I have to fucking do this fucking shit? Like, seriously. We're at game 5 here. Granted, 0 technically makes this 6, but 0 wasn't made until before, and it's like, oh, the Tojo clan, Tojo. Sorry, this series has made me fucking insane. So, then Daigo disappears. He gets introduced to Morinaga and Daizawa, who are the bodyguards. Are like, do you know where he's at? No, I don't. I just dropped his fucking ass off. And then they fight him. And then we see that he's also trying to help out his boss. He's got a girlfriend, but he doesn't really do jack shit. And she's actually like been spying on him from the Yamagasa family. And then, oh god, we see that everything's kind of going down. They're kind of antsy with the Tojo because they're like, why the fuck do they want to, like, why the Tojo here being like assholes and talking about like an equal alliance? It's like, yeah, you're kind of smaller, but you'd still help out and be like a connected kind of network where you would have more of a say in kind of other different kind of affairs. Granted, they would probably then give you reign to understand your own territory and everything, I guess. Or maybe just stop doing the illegal shit and make clubs and just help people. Like, I see all this stuff, and they're trying to present that they're doing all this good kind of stuff, because that's really tried to be shown in Shinada's, where essentially a neighbor watch group kind of oopsied their way. I don't know how you fucking oopsie your way into kind of becoming Yakuza without being Yakuza, but they kind of fucking did it, and it's like, what the actual fuck? And kind of opens up the kind of fact of like a scapegoat kind of like Sin Eater kind of thing, where they're like, hey, we're gonna fuck that dude over to make sure all these motherfuckers get out. It's like, that's horrible. But he kind of fucks around, tries to kind of figure out what's going on with it, and we see that Daigo's chief of HQ is like, I'm gonna take over Dojo Clan. And Morinaga's kind of like helping him out a little bit, kind of, but then tries to kill the Yamagasa kind of dude, but that gets failed, and there's a blow-up kind of thing, and he tries to pretty much start a war, then Kiryu fucking thundercracks all these assholes, and it kind of fucking sucks because it's like, oh great, here's the end of the chapter, and I have to do Kiryu fighting through a wave of fucking assholes. If you're, like, I'm into brawlers and shit, but when it's not fun to play for me. Like, it's like, okay, you do the same thing, you get yourself leveled up enough so where you don't get kind of fucked over. It's like, oh, you don't have to level yourself up then. And it's like, the game tries to fuck me over enough as it is, okay? I at least want to be at least decently enough of what kind of goes on, and I like upgrading and leveling my characters up. But he then gets shot by Morinaga, says that he killed Aizawa, and Kiryu's like, fuck you! And then he learns that Majima's supposedly dead. We shift over to Seijima, who's in the prison. We do all this stupid prison shit, which is like, hey, I fucking did this before. Why the fuck are we doing it again? Because reasons. And then we go through the wilderness, and we see him having to get out with Baba. And Baba's kind of like explaining his kind of thing. He was pretty much in there to kind of control. Now, granted, this is towards the end of his whole kind of part. Try to control Seijima until he needed to get out because he got expelled from the Tojo clan, evidently by Majima. And that kind of made the deputy warden be like, okay, even though we've got, like, Yakuza people being sent into this prison to fucking kill or, like, beat the shit out of Seijima for fucking reasons, because he's one of the pillars of the Tojo clan, which actually isn't stupid on Kurosawa's part, because whenever something goes down, you got Kiryu, you got Seijima, you got Majima, and Daigo pops out with a gun sometimes. Like, literally, Daigo got fucking shot towards the end of this game, and then this other dude got shot, and he's supporting him. It's like, brings him out and is like, oh, who shot that gun out of Kurosawa's hand? Daigo with a gun! And I fucking called it, and I'm like, I just started laughing to myself. I'm like, this game is fucking stupid when you could start calling this shit. So you do that shit and deal with a bear, and then you get into this, like, Tsukemono kind of place, trying to figure out what's going on with the other dude. He's like, yeah, Majima didn't show up, so I don't got nothing. Baba then tries to kill him with a sniper rifle, and then you, like, beat the shit out of him as Seijima. He's like, listen, you're gonna be my Aniki. We're gonna do oaths and shit. It's like, okay. Because Baba does get some interesting kind of stuff, but however, he gets thrown in as a boss battle at the end with Shinada for some reason. It didn't need to fucking exist. It's like, they're like, we need a boss battle for Shinada. And it's like, do we have anybody that he's connected to? Not anymore. Yeah, it's kind of stupid that you use Kurosawa to fucking kill his former manager that he might have had a brawl with, but fucking reasons. So, you fuck around with those kind of sub-stories as well, and then he kind of, like, he gets fucking arrested by police Omi dude, and he gets carted off to Tokyo. And then we're doing Haruka's kind of stuff, where she's doing all the training and everything like that, and it just... I understand that they've amped her up to age of, like, a teenager, but we get, like, barely any kind of personality other than the stuff that she's kind of absorbed a little bit of Kiryu. However, that just feels like 16-year-old girl with Kiryu-like traits rather than Haruka, who we've been seeing growing up throughout this. And she just like, I'm doing this for Kiryu and the orphanage. And I'm like, it's never explained how that kind of works out. Again, money flows and everything, especially since Akiyama was the one that was pretty much helping out everything. But of course, they're doing all that kind of stuff. Park is an asshole and fires the one dance instructor. Then you gotta fuck around and find another one. And then she's killed. It's presented as a suicide at first, but you're able to fucking Scooby-Doo that shit and be like, it wasn't that! And then this big, beefy fucknut dude pretty much pops up, and Akiyama's the one. Because Haruka can't fight. Now, granted, these are beefy fucking guys, but however, the laws of physics don't even really fucking pertain to this universe, so she, of course, would have had Kiryu's kind of spirit that has probably been, well, not his spirit, but, like, her spirit would have been bolstered by any kind of training or whatnot, to where she would have been able to, like, take on fucknut Magoo's shovel-ass face. But no, we gotta have Akiyama just pop up, be like, yeah, I'm doing my branch of Sky Finance here, and then they just fucking try and figure out the Park thing, which is like, alright, they're after this letter, trying to get after Majima, and this like head of the Osaka talent kind of place is supposedly like he's like this Yakuza kind of dude in the Omi Alliance. However, his underling shovel-faced McFucknuts Kanai is going around fucking murdering people, and all he's doing, he doesn't even fucking take her. He like burned. It makes it look like he burned his eye with a cigarette. However, he just burned his fucking eyebrow. And I don't agree with the Yakuza kind of stuff of like cutting off a pinky, cutting off a hand, fucking taking out an eye, or killing somebody. However, this motherfucker's rolling around as a loose cannon, and you should probably like put him in the like have the police take care of him, have him locked up, have him like taken the fuck away. But fucking reasons. But we learned later that him, Park, and Majima are doing this whole kind of thing to kind of make up for like Park not being able to do her debut and everything like that. And it's just like whatever. So you're doing all this kind of stupid shit. You got all this idle kind of sub-story stuff that I didn't even fucking finish all of her jobs or all of her sub-stories because I'm like, this game is fucking too long as it is. Akiyama had some side stories that I just fucking like didn't even do about. And then we kind of go through and we get to Shinada. Shinada at least had... At least I can go with like Akiyama and Shinada having more of kind of defined characteristics than Kiryu. Now granted, Kiryu has had more games and he's usually more of the kind of stoic kind of stuff, but because you're stoic doesn't mean that you're like a boring motherfucker. It's like the same kind of thing that people can say about Superman. Like, Superman is not a boring character unless you get on a run that somebody doesn't truly understand or know what the fuck to do with Superman. You know what I mean? Again, when he's like overpowered or whatnot. Because Kiryu kind of fits that kind of Superman super dude mold. However, it's like doing stuff with him. Akiyama and Shinada at least have kind of more stable kind of bases. Shinada at least was kind of interesting in that he should have had other kind of shit done with him. Not to the fact that I'm like, yeah, baseball's an important part of his shit. However, just fucking give him gameplay that actually works out. His was not fun to do. His control scheme was fucking... He was more of a kind of weapons dude, and it was just nutty to kind of deal with. However, let's get into his shit. Sorry to kind of like almost tangent, but the thing is, you've got a fuck ton of protagonists now, and you've got all that time that you need to like characterize them, develop them, do shit with them, and of course you've got 5 of them, and you barely do that much with them. So Shinada was a dude that played for the Wyverns, the Nagoya Wyverns. However, it was like 15 years in the past, his first game, he hits this crack-up home run, and however, it is called upon that he sign-stealed and is part of like a match-fixing thing and is banned from the sport. And that's the first and only time he was in the pro sport. So now we're at 2012, and he is a nightlife kind of writer. He's down on his luck and everything. He's got loan sharks on his ass pretty much telling him to go to a factory and fucking get his fingers chopped off. When, who do we see? This masked dude who is like the worst kind of fucking disguise that Daigo Dojima could ever fucking do. It's like, investigate your shit. It's like, oh, great. This little subs thing is now turned into a bigger kind of thing. And the thing is, the Yakuza were into baseball betting, and the people of Nagoya wanted them out and decided to pretty much scapegoat Shinada to bring attention to the betting, so that way they would pull out of Nagoya. They essentially made the Nagoya family, which was like business owners and shit. However, there was an offshoot of the Omi Alliance that was actually the ones behind it all along, my friends, because we need plot twists and things that actually pertain to what's kind of going on. Shinada learns this, learns that his manager pretty much fucked him over. He's got baseball shit going on and everything, but his is the kind of least developed because it's towards the end, and then he gets shipped off to try and figure out Tokyo and try and stop it because it gets linked up with the whole kind of thing that something's bad's going to happen at the Japan Dome. Because Haruka's going to be there, and Kurosawa's trying to like take out all the pillars and fuck over everything and hand everything over to his son because he's got terminal cancer. God, even the like final bit of it, the finale of seeing everything come together was just fucking like, no, why the fuck? So you could do some kind of shit. Kiryuka shows up and all the kind of shit. So they're trying to figure out kind of their shit, I think. Let's see. Let's see here. So, one dude, we got Katsuya, because there's other people kind of vying for, like, the Omi chairmanship. Watase, who kind of is like the Kiryu of the Omi, and then Katsuya, who is just actually trying not to be that much of a dickhole. These kind of guys, they talk about, like, the Yakuza life, but honestly, if they'd just been legit guys and not had to kind of deal with this fucking shit, I think it would have been better off. But they're kind of big ones that need to be taken out as well, so they're trying to figure out what's going on. We see that, like, Majima's been, like, arrested or whatnot. He's like, he's alive! And they pretty much send people impersonating Majima kind of family people to, like, fuck up shit at the Millennium Tower, because you've got to fuck up shit at the Millennium Tower. And... oh, God. It's so nutty. Like, even trying to kind of condense what was going on. Because they then try and figure out what's kind of going on, try and get up and blast through all these different kind of things. We got Shinada and... let's see. No, that's not at that point. Because Daigo's got to get shot, because Kurosawa's got to, like, plot dump a lot of kind of shit. Because Seijima and Kiryu were pretty much going after Katsuya to figure out what's going on with the whole concert being canceled. However, it's not really canceled, because the rival group T-Set that Haruko had won the Princess League Championship against, they're going to combine them into a super group and move it to the next day. It's like, alright, whatever the fuck, I don't give a shit. And they're pretty much getting ready to kind of lay down. We get Kiryu fighting Watase, and we get Seijima fighting Katsuya. Yes. And then Kurosawa comes in and shoots them both. Katsuya protects Watase, and then Daigo shoots at Kurosawa and tries to be like, fuck you, you dumb motherfucker, and I don't need to kill you. And then Shovel McFace Kanai pops up and shoots Daigo. It's like, Daigo got shot. So then they're in the hospitals and everything. They're trying to figure out what's kind of going on. That's, of course, when the Majima kind of shit starts kind of going on. And then they start kind of bringing into the kind of finale kind of bit. I'm sorry, this thing just got fucking under its own kind of weight. So Kiryu's like, I don't want to cancel this. Let's protect Haruka. Let's do this kind of shit. So they kind of go to the Millennium Tower. We see Kiryu and Akiyama kind of like taking on these other group of people, where Seijima and Shinada kind of go and deal with and try and help Haruka. So we got Kurosawa's men every kind of where. We got Baba pretty much playing off and trying to go and shoot Haruka. However, he's pretty much decided not to. And that's when Shinada pops up and pretty much forces him into a fucking boss fight, which was fucking stupid. And then he was going to try and kill himself, but some of the people from the prison was like, no, come on. And shoot the gun at his kind of position that he was going to pretty much shoot himself with. And I felt for Baba at this point, but because like everything has pretty much gone to shit. He's like, I wish I could have met Seijima earlier and that kind of thing. And I'm like, it kind of resonated with me, but I'm just like, oh god, this is getting just fucking stupid. Seijima, of course, for some reason, has to fight Majima because of the whole threat of Baba killing Haruka. And of course, Majima knows how much Haruka means to Kiryu, and he can't let her get hurt or killed. Alright, but it's like convoluted to like get them kind of fighting together. We also then get Akiyama pretty much fighting Kanai, Shovelface McFucker, and kind of becoming his own kind of like legend, where we see that all the group of all the different kind of other Yakuza groups that the Tojo have pretty much been courting throughout the whole entirety of the game pretty much take on Kanai and Kurosawa's kind of fucking stuff as they're trying to pretty much take over. Since Kurosawa and Aizawa were pretty much trying to take over the whole Yakuza underworld, which we did also get Seijima fighting him to learn about Morinaga and all that kind of shit. And Kurosawa fucking killing the manager dude. It's like, whatever. I don't give a shit at this point. And Watase bows to him and everything like that. Let's see. Kiryu learns, of course, Aizawa being at Tojo headquarters. And we see that Daigo helps out Seijima and Majima. And, of course, we get Kurosawa plot dumping. And we just see, of course, Kiryu then fighting Aizawa throughout Tojo HQ. And that was just a fucking nutty shit where I just used Tiger Drop because I could not be fucked with at this point. And, of course, Kiryu's still shot from the whole Kurosawa thing. And then is, like, dragging his way back into Kamurocho where he, like, collapses. Haruka at this point has done her concert and it's going pretty well. But then she decides to stupidly reveal that she has connected with someone who was formerly Yakuza and actually name drops his fucking ass on TV. And then runs from the concert. I don't mind that Haruka did not want to, like, continue on being an idol. I actually am, like, glad with that because I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with, like, another kind of game if she's doing with what's going on. However, the things that I've heard of what occurs in Yakuza 6, that actually would not have been the worst case scenario of what fucking starts to occur. But she finds Kiryu and helps him and gets him to the hospital, and that's kind of where that ends. And the thing is, it's to the design. Like, the design of how this game works out, how much shit is put into it. Like, you could have all the bells and whistles in a phone, in a computer, but if they fight against each other and don't work and are not executed to a cohesive whole, it's not gonna be a good time. And if you guys like it, that's cool. I do not want to take your enjoyment from it. What I've been doing going through this series shows very little and very weird design decisions that stay around, sometimes get tweaked, and don't really give the quality of life that's needed. Now, granted, they moved away from, like, enemies thunder blocking your fucking ass from Yakuza 3. Thank God on that. However, it's not really a good depth of, like, brawler for the gameplay. And then, holy fucking shit, it needs to understand what it wants to be. I'm playing a game to play the game. Because there's some cool ass shit that happens in cutscenes. I'm like, why can't I do that? Why am I not in control of that? Now, granted, that doesn't mean I want fucking QTEs all the time. Quick time events. No, fuck that. That's a halfway ass point of, like, then just give me the fucking control. Just let me do the fucking thing. Because this one had strange transitions of, like, okay, we'll have a cutscene that's, like, cinematic, and then we'll move to kind of, like, text kind of shit, which is actually voice, but it's, like, taking a fucking long time, and then flipping back and forth with some weird kind of transitions, and then sometimes having a cinematic cutscene, and then going to another cinematic cutscene with this weird kind of transition that doesn't make sense. It's like, alright, that's kind of abrupt and not meshed well together, but who knows? So, the biggest takeaways, like, I like stories in games, okay? I'm not saying that I don't need cutscenes. However, when it gets into 40, when I have my controller down, and then I have to actually fucking wiggle it because the console's like, "Are you there? Are you playing the game?" It's like, I want to play the game, but the stories in these games are so, like, they have the same kind of plot outlines, the same kind of, like, last minute twists. They're not completely exactly the same, but they continue to do the same kind of retreads over and over without the use of some kind of different kind of flair for it, where it doesn't, like, give you, okay, this is somewhat different. It's like, nope, Tojo Clan's in trouble, Kiryu's gotta help it out. And I, like, if that had happened once, and it's like, Legendary Yakuza has to deal with this shit because they're in trouble. Alright, I would have actually liked a second game where it's like, Tojo Clan's in trouble, Kiryu's got to help it out, Kiryu decides not to, and then the game ends. or we see other kind of ramifications of why that is a bad thing, and then kind of see what kind of goes on. Because the Tojo clan's not really holding much up anymore. It's just like Kiryu and all these other guys. It's like, alright then, Tojo clan should be disbanded. Kiryu should head up some kind of, I don't know, real estate fucking empire that he had in Zero and some kind of sub games that he could also, he could have a kind of holding conglomerate kind of group where he could do real estate, taxi services, hostess clubs, fucking karaoke because of how much he fucking does it. Like, honestly, he could be some kind of, like, business kind of dude that tries to help, like, the local kind of place. Granted, that can lead into vastly different kind of things, but then could also showcase the darker side when he has a rival pop up that you've usually seen in the sub games. See, here's the issue. Certain kind of sub game and story elements that are done for certain side kind of content should take the precedence over this crime noir that really isn't done well for me. If it's done well for you and you get good shit out of it, more power to you. Pay to play these games and show your support. That's cool. I will not hate on that. I do not think you are bad for that. Get your shit, my friends. This shit is just insanity inducing to me. And the thing is, I'm doing this because I want to see how this design and how it, like, tries to fix anything over the course of years, and I just really haven't seen it. I've seen tweaks that make it so that way it doesn't completely want me to, like, rip my eyeballs out through my asshole, which I know is an interesting kind of thing to try to imagine someone attempting to do, but there are so many other things and so many other ways I would like to, like, do things with my time. And the thing is, I see enough of the glimmer. I see why people like these characters and what they can do if they get the proper stories and beats that they deserve, but they just never hit it for me, and it doesn't even get close. Like, I see the potential, and I'm like, you ain't gonna do it, are you? It's like, nah, motherfucker, eat it! As they're just, like, flipping me off, and I'm like, yeah, I did nothing to you. So, you need to really be into Yakuza for this game. And if you have gotten into this series, of course, you will probably get your most time and money out of this. However, if you fall into my kind of category of trying to explore this series and see what's going on, I would tell you, do what you need to get good enough health and good enough kind of upgrades, but then just kind of like dodge other kind of stuff, because the sub-stories do get kind of better later on, I believe. However, they don't get much above the kind of typical kind of MMO route where they kind of copy and paste enough of it to be like, okay, like if there's short enough ones that you get some XP and shit for, and it doesn't take you far out of the way, okay, cool. But if it gets weirdly involved, it's like, I've done this kind of quest 30 different times before. Yeah, I could have done this same kind of quest 30 different times before, even having skipped most of the sub-quests in Yakuza 3. Because they even then get into a copy-paste territory of like, oh, someone asked me to go here, I have to get info dumped here, and then So yes, this one got a double thumbs down, not because of the combat exactly. It's mainly the story was completely and utterly fragmented, way past what it needed to be, and there was way too much shit put in here. Like, it is interesting to me that I can look at this game and be like, there is too much in here, and it doesn't work well together. That's a new kind of thing of where I'm like, okay. Now, granted, that has been kind of parcel of the Yakuza series, but this is the primest example of, like, you put whole-ass game shit in here, and it just lengthens it to a point that is just... I find my burnout points on this. There are certain games that, like, the gameplay loop and the story, like, if I can find something that is fun as fuck to play and the story's got me gripped, holy fucking shitballs, my friend. I can be sitting there for, like, hundreds of hours and not feel a thing. This was just like, I'm not into the story, I'm not into the gameplay, holy fucking shit, this is fucking torture, man. That's me. If that's not you, that's cool, alright? So, This is definitely the kind of... This one and 3 would be kind of like the hardest ones to kind of go through. 6 will probably test that for me, and then I'll get my kind of thoughts together more on 7 when I do that kind of review and see how Judgment and Lost Judgment go. I've heard better things about the combat in those 2 games, brawler-wise, but I kind of tried to trust what other people were saying about the Yakuza series, and I have found that what my opinions and what I have found of the series have been completely and utterly different. But that's the kind of cool thing. Some people can really love something, and some people could just be like, that ain't my bag. So, the adventure continues as we continue on with all of this crazy insanity and shit. So those are my opinions on the game. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.